Hello, my name is Patrick Langley, and you are viewing my IRB proposal on vitamin D and ulcerative colitis. The focal micronutrient is vitamin D, and its functions in the human body commonly present hypervitaminosis D in those with IBD. It is noted that the vitamin D deficiency is common in those diagnosed with IBD, specifically the subset of IBD UC, and those with that diagnosis are at risk for malabsorption of vitamin D and potential deficiency as a symptom of UC. In hypervitaminosis D, we see concerns with rickets, the functions of vitamin D in gene expression, vitamin D receptors in the gut, as well as bone formation, the homeostasis of calcium, and other chronic disease states. Low vitamin D is common in some forms of IBD. It has specific processes in gene expression, vitamin D receptor, and bone formation. It is important in calcium homeostasis and the maintenance of parathyroid hormone. The deficiency of vitamin D has also been shown to be prevalent in those with cancer and diabetes. Further research is warranted for the varying differences between UC and vitamin D. Synthesize your way out of hypervitaminosis D in 3 steps. Step 1. Eat your eggs with all the cholesterol possible. Step 2. Enjoy the sun for at least 15 to 30 minutes without sunscreen. Step 3. Spend time in the sun with a big ball of gas in the sky to synthesize some endogenous vitamin D. How about 20,000 IUs of vitamin D in one sitting? Anyone? Food sources of vitamin D include tuna, salmon or fatty fish, fortified foods such as cereal, milk, and even supplementation of vitamin D. In review of the literature, in a study that was found by Palmer and colleagues, IBD is associated with the increased industrialization between the 19th and 20th centuries. It still continues through today. Vitamin D deficiency is also commonplace in persons working in manufacturing industries due to the prolonged lack of sun exposure. In another study by Koskan and colleagues, the vitamin D receptor, or VDR, is an important receptor in the activity associated with UC. Adequate vitamin D provided to the VDR could prove therapeutic in the disease state of UC and associated symptoms of IBD. In a study by Hugh and colleagues, IBD patients were identified that had vitamin D levels drawn prior to the study. Low vitamin D levels was seen in combination of vitamin D2 and D3 serum levels of 52 ng/mL or less. 46% of all IBD patients in the study were found to be vitamin D deficient. A high and low dose interval was chosen for low dose of 800 IUs every day, or the high dose of 100,000 IUs once, or 50,000 IUs once per week times 6 weeks. Those receiving either of the high dosages had a 150% increase in vitamin D levels versus the low dose of 34%. In a study by Nielsen and colleagues, disease with IBD had increased need for hospitalizations, surgeries, had an onset of poor quality of life, and decreased bone mineral density. In another study that looked at low vitamin D levels in those with Crohn's disease, determined that sufficient vitamin D levels were 30 ng/mLs or greater. Insufficient was 20 to 30 ng/mLs, and deficient was less than 20 ng/mLs. In those with moderate to severe disease activity, vitamin D levels were the lowest in those with CD patients. In a study by Cantorna that looked at the immune system in IBD, found that adequate levels of vitamin D assist in decreasing the inflammation of the gut immune system by turning off inflammatory gut genes. The statement of purpose is active ulcerative colitis positively affected by a vitamin D regimen of 50,000 IU times 8 weeks in those with depleted serum 25 OHD levels? The null hypothesis is active UC will not be affected by the regimen. The research hypothesis is active UC will be affected by the regimen. The significance of the study is that this alternative in treatment of UC will provide an alternate treatment in the management of those diagnosed with UCs and associated symptoms. It will also assist in increasing quality of life in those who have concerns with the symptoms of UC. There are also very few risks involved in participating in the study. The efficacy of different pharmaceuticals, such as Humira, are warranted as not always the best treatment. Intervention potential, in addition to current treatment protocol, will provide either an added intervention to the current suggested interventions for UC, or it will be an intervention in place of the current recommendations. In the methods and procedures, G-power analysis using a power of 0.95, effect size of 0.05, revealed a total sample size of 112 to gain significance in the study results. The 3 study markers to be examined included erythrocyte sedimentation rate, ESR, C-reactive protein, CRP, and the serum vitamin D levels before and after the interventions were provided. Other things to consider include the primary regimen that will be the intervention regimen will be 50,000 IUs of vitamin D times 8 weeks, once per week, and the control group intervention will be 2,000 IUs of vitamin D every day. These will be provided in a capsule form and given to the participants before the study. Those who do not follow through with the regimen protocol will be included. However, their significance for the conclusion of data will be excluded. The participants will not be asked to leave the study if they do not complete the required regimens. However, their data will not be considered significant for the study. The study will be a non-equivalent control group design and a randomized control trial. Participants will receive a review of the consent form prior to being given the opportunity to decide if they wish to sign the consent or not. Requirements to participate in the study will include diagnosis of UC, prior treatment for at least 6 months by the Hospital of Duke University Medical Center in Durham, North Carolina, and diagnosis of vitamin D deficiency at levels less than 20 ng/mL. An increase after intervention from 20 ng/mL to 30 ng/mL will be considered significant increase to sufficient levels. As previously mentioned, the G-Power software will be used in an analysis of ANOVA, or analysis of variance between the two groups, and how they affected the inflammatory markers of UC with the intervention of vitamin D. Sample size will be 112 total, with 2 arms, 56 subjects in each arm, with a power utilized of 0.95 and a medium effect size of 0.3. P-values less than 0.05 will be considered statistically significant in significant change from the start and end of the study, in determining in how the two groups varied, as well as the correlation coefficient, Pearson R, will be utilized to determine if vitamin D is indeed correlated with UC activity. Ethical considerations will be maintained throughout the study, from the gathering of the participants and whether or not they qualify for the study, throughout the entire study, to the end, the data analysis, and compiling all of the methods for the completion of the study. The ethical considerations are respect, beneficence, and justice for the participants, to be sure that they are provided with the best ethics and approach to the study possible. These considerations will not be changed at all, and it will be taken into account throughout the whole study. Thank you so much for viewing my presentation. Have a happy and healthy day.